Hey TechKnowSurge! One thing about our policies, procedures, or really just our security program in general is that we want to continue to improve it. It's not something that we can just set and forget, that we're going to have to pay attention to it. So let's talk about monitoring and revisions. When we're developing our cybersecurity program, we'll develop policies, and based off of that, then the standards, and based off of that, the procedures, and so on and so forth. And it'd be nice to think that we could just create all of this and not have to pay attention to it, because it takes a ton of time to create all this. But the fact is that we're not going to get it right the first time. How often do you get things right the first time? And in addition to that is things are going to be dynamic and changing. A business is constantly changing the way it's operating and what its goals are and how it's doing business. And so your policies are going to do that as well. So monitoring and revisions is going to be an ongoing cycle that you're going to do with your policies and your security program. So you'll create the requirements or gather the requirements, and then from there you're going to develop what your security program is going to look like. You're going to develop those policies and procedures. Then you're going to get approval for those. You'll do an implementation, and then you'll monitor them to see how well that they're working. Do they need to be adjusted? And more often than not, especially the first time we roll this out, we're going to say, oh, well, I've overcreated this process and now it's just too cumbersome to work with, so I'm going to have to dial that back. Or this really needs to be developed a little bit more and we need to get a little more specific with it. So you're going to monitor to figure out what it is that you need to do and assess what changes you need to make. And then go through this cycle once again, is when you see that there are issues, gather the requirements again and develop those policies. It's going to get faster and faster as you go through here. It definitely takes a lot longer the first time you go through it, but there is this maintenance that happens with your security programs, with the policies you're creating, with everything you're developing. And since this is a dynamic environment, usually what we do is we start creating some sort of revision numbers. So we have a way to track the revision number. It could just be 1, and then when that you update it, it could be 2, then when you update it, you could be 3, or I do it by the date that it was updated. And so there's different ways that we can track the revisions of it, but usually you would have some sort of revision number so you could track changes as things go.